Well, hey, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. It is Wednesday, January 10th, 2024. And, I've been thinking a lot about my practice and how, my painting process and creative process is developing, hoping to continue to grow and, develop the practice. One of the things that I'm hoping to do is, in a fairly consistent manner throughout the year, kind of round out some of the ways with which I share on social media in general, but in particular within the YouTube channel here. And one of the things that I hope to do is consistently on Wednesday evenings around this time. This is 9 a.m. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Is just do a quick walkthrough. It could be some general ideas. It could be a book that I'm walking through, or maybe new skills or techniques that I'm experimenting with. And I'll just share them in hopes to, help folks that are interested in learning more about painting, about art, and, folks that are interested in following my practice as well. My sincere hope is that it just helps, folks who, maybe don't know where to start with their own creative practice, or perhaps maybe provide, more healthy diversion than, some of the other alternatives that are out there. So today what I'm going to do, I'm just going to flip my camera around, and there you go. You kind of have a little gallery wall here of some of the work that I've done over the past year, but I'm going to kind of change directions here, and we're going to work through this book, this little gem. And sorry for my lousy camera work, but this little book that we have here, which was gifted to me actually by my mom. I believe it was last Christmas. Um, The Artist and the American Landscape by John Driscoll and Arnold Skolnick. So, being a little under the weather recently, having the flu and COVID go through our house and some other things, haven't been able to get outside, haven't been as productive. I'm working through a couple of books, including The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. I'll probably do a book summary on that within the next couple of weeks. Definitely a healthy read. Trying to finish off my little sketch journal that I've posted some of my sketches on over the past year. A little bit over a year I've been working through this, but it's almost filled, and these are all little line drawings done with multicolored ballpoint pen, and in some cases gesso or whiteout. So, some of them are abstract, some of them are, um, a little bit larger, covering 2 pages. And, it's just a way of getting some ideas started and percolating, sometimes in preparation for commission work that I'm doing and so forth. But maybe one night we'll walk through that in a little bit more detail. But tonight we're going to do this. We should be able to get through it in about a half an hour, I would guess. And we'll be able to connect this to some of the stuff that I've worked on recently, because this book definitely has provided some inspiration. It's it's an incredible book, and this is one of the things a lot of people don't think about. But you can pick up a book like this, sometimes used, pretty inexpensive, and sometimes new. Whether it be through Amazon or one of the other online distributors, or even a local bookstore. In this case, this was used. It was I know it was picked up by the person that gifted it to me. I believe in a secondhand store that's part of an art co-op. And this book is pretty incredible. The artwork in here is just phenomenal. And there's a mix of, some text and some beautiful images. Here's one of them. This is the first image. It's a full page image. And it's just a beautiful painting that's done, a rural scene here, high contrast, and just amazing. Looks like it was published in 1998 by Chameleon Books. And this is the way it's structured. I haven't spent a lot of time, in all honesty, reading the text in the book. I pick it up, I put it down, I pick it up, I put it down. But here's the structure. We have the contents, including a bicentennial of the American landscape painting, an introduction, which is about 20 pages long, covers the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. And when we say 20 pages, it's mostly mostly large pictures. So I'm starting to think the more I look back on my schooling that that might be the reason why I was drawn to art, less reading. Just kidding. But we move into the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, the South, the Midwest and Great Plains, the West and Southwest, the Pacific Rim, some credits and afterward. And it really is just a phenomenal treasure. And hopefully I can keep it in good condition for a while. Yeah, right out of the gates, first image in the heart of the book, Ralph Earl, who, as I understand it, it says here, he lived 1751 to 1801. This painting is called Looking East from Denny Hill, painted in 1800. From what I gather, based upon his biography, Ralph was primarily a portrait artist, but he was commissioned to do these several of these panoramic views. I haven't even done the research to understand where this scene is located, but you can see it's quite beautifully done. I assume in oils and on a large scale. It's one of the things within this book. It doesn't always provide insights into the materials or the scale of the different paintings, but there is still a lot of really good insight that you can gain. Some of my favorites, Thomas Cole. This is one of his more well-known paintings here. Um, it is called A View from Mount Holyoke, Northampton, Massachusetts, after a thunderstorm. The Oxbow, I guess that makes reference to this body of water here, painted in 1836. Now, I think part of the reason why I appreciate this book is because that happens to be the era that I'm particularly drawn to. Turn of the century, um, late 1800s, the whole 1800s, early 1900s, particularly the American oil painters that were more prominent. I just tend to be drawn to them. The whole Hudson River School of Painting, the tonalist movement, and so forth. I've always been drawn to those particular styles, although I love all kinds of paintings. But you do see them prominently featured throughout this book. Occasionally, you'll see, let's see, in this case, John F. Kensett, Sunset in the Adirondacks, 1859. Moving it into view here. Sorry for the poor camera work, but this might be one of the first paintings I know that stands out in my memory that I saw, and I was just astonished by the wonderful luminosity and the feeling of being able to see the atmospheric depth across this mountain range. Probably one of the first paintings that made me start really thinking about painting and having some desire to figure out how to do some of these things. And hopefully maybe someday I'll get to that level of quality. Here, I know I'll mispronounce his name, but Regis Gignot, Lake George, one of my favorite spots here on the East Coast in the Adirondacks in 1862. I know I've marveled at this painting. It's just incredibly done. And then Home in the Woods by Sanford Gifford here at the bottom. We'll move through this section pretty quickly. You're gonna see a lot of familiar names and just some beautiful luminous paintings. So I do have some of these pages tabbed off with clear post-it notes, and here's one. This is a George Inness painting. It's called Sunset at Montclair. It was painted in 1892, definitely in his tonalist period. He was also part of the Hudson River School. George is one of my, kind of virtual art heroes, if you will. He obviously hasn't been around for a while, but he left a legacy of just incredible work, thousands of paintings over a long career. And I actually did a master copy of this in my YouTube channel here. If you check it out, you'll see there's a playlist called Study the Greats. And one of the more recent paintings that I did within that Study the Greats series, which is a master copy, no intention to do anything commercial with it other than, demonstrate one way that you can approach to studying these great master works. And you could see the process in that particular video within my Study the Greats playlist on the YouTube channel here of this very painting. And it just keeps going. It just keeps going. There's a lot in here. You have William Anderson Coffin's work here, Stoystown Valley in Pennsylvania, and William Phelps on the left-hand side. I know it's a little crooked. It's not centered here. Just it's a matter of the size of this book and my setup. But this type of painting really intrigues me. I'd love to take the opportunity to get out and paint plein air in the countryside like this with longer views. I haven't had the opportunity to do that quite yet. I've experimented with it in studio. Actually, one of my Study the Great series paintings, a George Warren Eaton painting. There's a few of them actually that have that kind of dynamic going there. George Bellows. And here's a few that really intrigue me. The Impressionism style painting that did bleed into some of the some of the American painters here. I'm sure they were inspired by the true Impressionists like Monet and so forth. But here we have Edward Steichen, Moonlit River or Moonlight on the River, painted in 1905, and just beautifully done. Incredible vibrancy, even though it's a nocturne scene, and very colorful. Even though you associate that time of day with darkness and desaturated colors in many cases. Now, one of my favorite painters of all time, who I think is probably one of the most underrated of the big time painters from this era, is Childi Hassam. If you Google his name, you'll see just amazing works. This is one that you don't see as quite as frequently, but you see incredible paintings of his throughout North America and Europe, all in this impressionist style, and an amazing amount of detail and incredible illusions, high quality illusions. Using brushstrokes, paint, and that impressionist style, just phenomenal. And it goes on and on and on. I mean, this really is a treasure. Here's the one that I tabbed. It's a John F. Carlson painting, and here it is right here, called Forest Peace, circa 1930. Now, the reason why I tabbed that off is because this is the man that wrote this book, which is a seminal book, one of the go-to painting instructional manuals that a lot of artists that have been around for a long time will reference and speak to, and oftentimes borrow from. And he did a great job of codifying really what it means to be a painter and live the lifestyle of a painter, an artist who is looking to really embrace nature. And some really great concepts are presented in there. And I actually just recently, in a short on YouTube, which is part of my Study of the Greats playlist, covered one of his paintings, famous paintings, is actually on the cover of that book I just showed you, Carlson's Guide to Landscape Painting, in an effort to kind of just, freshen up my and calibrate to some of the winter scenes that I hope I get to paint throughout the winter here. And it just keeps going. Incredible works page after page after page, mostly pictures. And one of the things that I've come to really appreciate, I've always known this and heard this and felt this, is the importance of curating, um, what you take in. So looking at great works like this, George Wexler, The View from Towpath Road, it was actually painted in 1986, but definitely harkens back to the look and the feel of some of those great painters from the turn of the century. Just beautiful work. So this is in the beginning of the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic section. We're kind of out of that first chapter where we're going through some history of the American painters and getting into some of the regional breakouts here. And just it goes on. I mean, we just have it's a big world, and there's a lot of really talented people and a lot of dedicated, talented people who have really pursued, excellence in the world of painting. So yeah, it can be intimidating, and it can be overwhelming. You tend to have, if you have any level of inferiority complex, it can be difficult to look at paintings like this and go, gee, wow, I may never get to that level. You just gotta accept it and learn what you can from the work that you put in behind the canvas or whatever your medium is, and learn from looking at these paintings too. One of the things that you can do is just observe and try and understand how the artist is using composition and design and color to create an emotional response in the viewer. And there's clues there you can learn. You go back and look at these works, and over time you start cobbling together your own little philosophies about what works and what will work with your unique set of talents and your ability to view the world. And it's an interesting journey. This is just beautiful. It's amazing to me how you have simple forms, simple composition, um, pretty high contrast, a lot of bright color. It definitely makes me feel like, I'm right there behind this pile of rocks on the shore listening to the water, right around sunrise or sunset. I would imagine sunset. But it just goes on and on and on. And there's all kinds of formats. You have this, wonderful format here, which stands out because it's tall and thin. I don't know, the actual dimensions there. But we're going to get to a couple of items here that stand out, which I'll reference, and we'll start moving a little bit more quickly. Here, in this wonderful painting, this is Alan Bray. I believe this is Alan Bray's Three Ponds, which was painted in 1996. You kind of have a classic pyramid or triangular design here with the dominant feature, and you have some other things going on, some beautiful depth, amazing color. And then you have, the shadow laid out here halfway through, which creates some interest and some drama when you have, amongst this big shape here, kind of cutting in half. And this stands out because this falls, within, a pretty standard painting design, which you'll see throughout, a lot of paintings. When it comes to composition, that becomes something of an important element as you pursue, the effort to make better paintings, and something you always struggle with if you're like me. Incredible painting after incredible painting. This is a really, really nice gift. Um, I am. Oh, I picked this page because I am originally a Jersey boy. I grew up in northern New Jersey and now live in the Poconos here in northeast Pennsylvania. And I saw this painting. This is Paul Resica, Fallen Trees, the Ramapo. It was painted in, I guess, 1977, 1978. And it's quite a nice painting, outside of my normal style of painting, but he does a phenomenal job with color and design and simplification. what I've come to learn is that he's part of a post-war group of painters that painted all, in my view, a similar style. And the reason why this jumped out at me is because the Ramapo River happens to be, a river valley that I spent a lot of time in as a kid and growing up as a teenager and a young adult, hiking and fishing and so forth. And I also uh, chose to focus in on this little painting here, Lois Dodd, Delaware Water Gap in Winter, painted in 1977. Again, similar style, another post-war artist as I understand it. This is a view that I see, a couple times a week for, over the course of, close to 20 years. I saw it almost every day commuting from where I live into northern New Jersey and have to pass through this water gap, this Delaware water gap. And so anytime I have an opportunity to, kind of appreciate someone's vision for this, I try to take the time to do it. And I think this is a pretty remarkable one. It's quite nice, um, the way they kind of captured the effect of the frozen winter and river here, which this is the Delaware River that runs through this gap. And a couple times a year in winter, inevitably it'll freeze up. All right. Now, I appreciate you, those of you that have joined. It looks like we have a few comments. So, Corey, thanks. I appreciate you sharing that. Aunt Heidi, thanks for joining in. And this is just something that I'm hoping to do, selfishly in my own self-interest to kind of develop by being able to talk through these things, but also sharing with folks that are like-minded, looking to grow. So we're coming down to the last few here within this book. We have some earlier works from Joseph McGurl, Ice Fishing. This is pretty famous, and this artist, he shares a lot. He's a good teacher, a great teacher, and I would argue, perhaps maybe in this style of painting, one of the greatest living painters, American painters anyway, that we have. His works are just, every single one is just impeccably done. The illusions that you feel like you're looking at a very detailed rendering, and oftentimes you are, but lots of times it's just the illusions that he creates and the feelings that he creates throughout his paintings that are just absolutely amazing. Um, and I've already learned a lot from him, but hope to continue to through some of the free content, maybe even some of the paid for content, that is published either on his behalf or by him directly. So it just keeps going. This is an incredible book, and one of the many things I'm working through. There's a quote that I shared earlier today, which is coming up from one of my favorite philosophers. And there's quite a few references to, quotes from different philosophers throughout this book, but this one jumped out at me because it was unexpected. Oh, here we go. Look at this. This is one I would have expected by Thomas Cole, an excerpt from his essay on American scenery from 1835. So he, is a remarkably incredible painter, one of the greats, and he says here, look at the heavens when the thunder shower is past and the sun stoops behind the western mountains. There's the low purple clouds hang in festoons around the steppes. The higher the heaven, wait a minute, in the higher heaven, I should say, are crimson bands interwoven with the feathers of gold, fit for the wings of angels. And still above is spread the interminable field of ether, whose color is too beautiful to have a name. And again, that's from Thomas Cole, who probably I would say is, was an amazing colorist. So he should have, if anybody should be able to come up with a name for the colors that he's observing, it would be him. But, it's just an expression of how overwhelmed he was by some of the scenery that he was looking at, trying to paint. And then there's more, and we get into some of the, some more recent works. I mean, this incredible painting, which I'll run by the screen because we have this panoramic view. This was done in 1994 by John Briggs, Egrets in the Everglades, and yeah, incredibly done. And obviously, you may or may not have heard of, John. I know I haven't, but still very, very impressive work. And we have a lot of works throughout the 90s referenced here. Who would have known the 90s? It's not like a lot of people talk about the 90s as being the glory days of, contemporary painters in North America, but there was some incredible work done. Now, I think I selected this painting because this one I think kind of matches at least some of the types of scenes that I see in the area where I live here, although it's not from within this area, done by Daniel Lang, called The Blue River, 1983. This would be something that I might examine a little bit more closely to try to help me better understand how I might be able to achieve some of the effects here, because I will find myself having the opportunity to paint similar scenes, based upon where I live, lots of rivers and streams and so forth. And I think obviously he did a great job. All right, so just a few more things I'll point out here, and we'll wrap up. Ah, here we go. Here's the quote. I actually shared this earlier, and for those that don't know me too well, and perhaps maybe don't have a background where they've had the opportunity to read Alexis de Tocqueville, might have been a little bit confused by this, but he is a philosopher who I believe he was French. Don't quote me on that, but he spent quite a bit of time in America analyzing, America, which was still relatively young when he was on the earth. But one of his seminal works was called Journey to America, or Journey to America, in 1851, or 31, I should say. It's getting late, so my eyesight is not that good. For me, 8:30 p.m. is late. But anyway, this jumped out at me because, again, it was a surprise. Uh, and he goes to say, who will ever paint a true picture of those rare moments in life when physical well-being prepares the way for calm of soul, and the universe seems before your eyes to have reached a perfect equilibrium. Then the soul, half asleep, hovers between the present and the future, between the real and the possible, while with natural beauty all around, and the air tranquil and mild, at peace with himself, in the midst of universal peace, man listens to the even beating of his arteries that seem to him to mark the passage of time flowing drop by drop through eternity. So obviously very poetic. You can take what you want from that, but just a beautiful quote. And again, a surprise because you know, he always was very poetic in his writing, but this probably had more to do with what was going on in America at the time and the beautiful landscape, which was new, especially to folks from Europe. And obviously, we do live on a beautiful continent. And, he was expressing his appreciation for it, and maybe some of the great works being done by the artists of the time as well. All right, so there's a lot more, and we're just trying to use our time, our brief time together. I really just wanted to spotlight this book, and kind of share some of the things that jump out at me in my effort to develop as a painter. And there's a lot. I mean, there's so much here. Um, we have a quote from John Steinbeck. There's a few from him in here, alongside of this wonderful painting. And that's pretty much it as it relates to this book. So, you know, depending upon when I reflect on this particular format, we might continue to do this sort of thing. I have a whole slew of books that I can reference here. Just showing you a little of my mess and we could review books. We could review some of the process by which I, try to work to create, some of the paintings that I do. Some plein air, some. Oh, and there's the Delaware Water Gap. The lighting's a little off, so you're not getting a really good view of it. But um, we might review some of the other things I've going on to, like as I learn new things that jump out that to me is potentially being helpful. Um, yeah, we might just share. But for now, I wanted to start here, share this little gem. I thought it was worth it. Um, if you have the opportunity to pick up a copy, I would definitely suggest you do so. Great reference. It could help you either enhance your existing process for curating, the art that you're taking in to help inspire you, or maybe start that process. Um, Definitely has been helpful for me. As you saw already, it inspired me to do a master copy of a George Inness painting that's in here, and I had a great reference photo to work from, and also learned a little bit too. So anyway, hopefully you found this valuable. And you're right, Corey. Eyesight is for the birds. It'd be nice to be able to see without glasses. That's for sure. Anyway, I appreciate you guys joining me, and we'll try and do this again, every Wednesday, probably around this time. Yeah, Colorado. uh, I do hope to get out there and paint and explore, but definitely, appreciate you sharing that, Heidi. All right, well, yeah, thanks for joining. Have a good night, and I think we'll probably try and do this sort of thing again next week. I'll think on it a little bit, and we'll figure out something good to chat about. In the meantime, have a great week and stay safe. And thanks for joining. Thanks, Corey. Yeah, me too. I'm going to keep doing that. If you're interested, if you haven't done so already, check out the playlist called "Study the Greats." I know you've checked out some of the stuff already, but if you just look at that playlist, there's probably well over 25 videos of me covering different paintings that I consider to be great paintings. And it's nice to hear somebody else appreciates that too. So thanks. Take care, everybody.